My family stole my money that I had saved for a house and bought themselves a new car, so I destroyed them. I always believed that when I finally bought a house, it would be the moment my life really started. Not because I needed the validation or because I wanted to post about it online, but because it had become the symbol of everything I'd fought for: independence, stability, a place that was mine and no one else's. I had worked for 6 years straight to make it happen. No vacations. No reckless spending. I budgeted everything, lived in a tiny apartment with paper-thin walls, drove a used sedan that rattled when you turned left too hard. Every freelance gig, every bonus, every late-night client call, I stashed the money away, slowly building up a down payment. By the end of that 6th year, I had $86,400 saved. It wasn't enough for anything flashy in my area, but it was real. It was something. Something that no one gave me, that I earned alone. And then it was gone. It started with a text from my mom. Mom. Hey sweetie, can we talk tonight? It's important. We weren't exactly close, but we spoke occasionally: holidays, family birthdays, the usual. My relationship with my parents had always been polite, transactional. They weren't abusive, just opportunistic. The kind of people who smiled big at barbecues but kept receipts on their own kids. That night, I called her. What's going on? I asked. She hesitated. We did something we probably should have asked you about first. My stomach tensed. What kind of something? There was a long pause. Then she said it. We needed a new car. I blinked. Okay. And we know you've been saving. And, well, your dad remembered the login for the joint account from years ago. The one you used in college. I stopped breathing. You took money from me? We didn't take it. We borrowed it. How much? She hesitated again. About $85,000. My vision blurred. You what? It was just sitting there. We figured you weren't using it right away, and your father's truck finally died. Mom, that was my house fund. That was everything. We didn't think you'd mind. I mean, we're family. I hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat at my desk for nearly an hour, staring at the login screen for the account I hadn't touched in years. The one I'd forgotten was even joint. When I logged in, the balance read $32.19. I checked the transfer history. It was all there: multiple withdrawals, spread out over 2 weeks. Used car dealerships, cash transfers, and one large check issued to Derek Wallace, my father's name. They'd been planning this. Coordinating. Not an accident. A hit job. I felt my chest go cold. Not because of the money. Because of the message behind it. You're not a person. You're a resource. The next day, I went to work like nothing happened. I kept my head down. Completed tasks. Answered emails. Pretended not to feel like I'd just been gutted by the 2 people who raised me. That night, I poured a glass of whiskey, sat on my balcony, and opened a notebook. I titled the first page, How to Ruin Someone Without Breaking the Law. I wasn't interested in revenge for the sake of it. I was interested in accountability. In justice. In making sure they felt, for the first time in their lives, that actions have weight, and I wasn't going to carry theirs anymore. I wasn't going to throw a tantrum. I was going to dismantle them. I started with information. I knew my parents better than they realized. I knew how they filed their taxes. I knew my father used offshore payment apps to avoid declaring certain income from side jobs. I knew they rented out the basement suite in their house under the table to avoid claiming it on Airbnb's records. I even knew they were claiming my younger cousin as a dependent even though she lived in another state. And most importantly, I knew exactly how to find the receipts. Emails. Screenshots. Photo metadata. Bank statements they sent me over the years when asking for tech help. I archived everything. Not because I wanted to get them arrested. Because I wanted leverage. I wanted them to know what it felt like to have something taken, then dangled just out of reach. To know someone else had power over their future. And to understand that I wasn't bluffing. The first message I sent was short. To Dad. I know about the money. I know about the Airbnb. And I know what you're hiding from the IRS. You have 48 hours to return the funds. After that, we do things my way. He didn't respond. So I waited. The 48-hour mark came and went. No call. No transfer. No apology. Just silence. Which told me two things: 1, they thought I was bluffing. And 2, they were used to getting away with things they shouldn't. So I acted. Nothing illegal. Nothing dramatic. Just a little push. I sent a neatly formatted email to a contact I'd worked with through a design gig, someone at the county auditor's office. They owed me a favor after I helped them overhaul their nonprofit's branding. In return, I asked for a public data pull. Nothing sensitive. Just tax records, zoning permissions, property ownership files. Within a day, I had what I needed: proof that the basement apartment my parents had been renting out for over 3 years was not listed on any of their income declarations. I didn't send it to the IRS. Not yet. I sent it to them. Just a PDF, attached to an email with one sentence. This is what paperwork looks like. I suggest you learn to respect it. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Dad. I let it go to voicemail. Then Mom called. Then both again. On the third round, I answered. What the hell is this? My father barked. No greeting. No pretense. It's leverage, I said calmly. You threatening us? I'm reminding you what you did. You stole from me. You treated my future like a fallback option for your poor planning. You didn't even ask. So yeah, I'm sending a message. Loud and clear. There was a pause. You don't understand, he said, suddenly quiet. Things have been hard. We thought we'd be able to pay you back before you even noticed. You thought you were entitled to it, I corrected. You thought I'd be too polite to push back. Mom jumped in. We're your parents. Families help each other. You didn't help me when I was eating frozen rice 3 times a week just to save that money. Silence. You didn't help me when I was skipping medical insurance to afford first and last month's rent. Or when I worked 2 jobs for 4 years while you took vacations to wine country and posted it on Facebook like you earned it. Still silence. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You'll wire me exactly what you took. Every cent plus the overdraft fees from the 2 bills that bounced while you were spending my money. Dad scoffed. You're out of your mind. No, I said. I'm out of patience. And I hung up. I didn't expect them to pay it back. I really didn't. But I wanted them to know I wasn't bluffing. They had played the We're Family card their whole lives, but never learned what family actually meant. It meant respect. Accountability. It meant not using the people closest to you just because you thought they'd never leave. The next day, my mom texted me. Mom. Your dad is furious. We didn't expect you to turn on us like this. I didn't reply. Instead, I turned the screws a little further. I created a folder, titled it What They Owe. Inside it, I saved everything I had. Screenshots of their Venmo payments to renters. Photos of the basement listing on Airbnb, with exact dates. Emails where my dad talked about off-the-books income from side work. And, just for fun, a photo of the new SUV they bought, parked in their driveway, with the dealership sticker still on the window. Then I wrote an anonymous tip. Not to the IRS. To their accountant, a local guy, publicly listed, who had worked with my dad for over a decade. I attached one screenshot and wrote. This is a courtesy. Check your client's math. I never heard back. But I imagine my parents did. By the end of the week, the silence changed tone. No more calls. No more threats. Just quiet. Too quiet. Then Dylan, my cousin, the one they used to claim on their taxes, called me. They're freaking out, he said. I went over for dinner and they were both whispering in the kitchen. I overheard them talking about back taxes and audit flags. I didn't smile. But I felt something shift. They weren't scared of me. They were scared of consequences. Something they'd never had to face before. I gave them one more chance. Another email. Professional tone. Clear bullet points. Amount taken, $86,400. Required repayment, $88,250, including damages and fees. Deadline, 30 days from receipt. And one final line. If I do not receive confirmation of your intent to repay by this date, I will no longer pursue this matter quietly. No legal threats. No violence. Just a choice. They didn't reply. But I knew they read it. By week 3, the guilt campaign began. Not a repayment. Not an apology. Just a series of text messages from my mom that seemed pulled from some passive-aggressive playbook. Mom. Your dad's blood pressure is through the roof. I hope you're happy. Mom. I've been crying every night. I never thought my own child would treat us like this. Mom. You're acting like a stranger. This isn't the person I raised. The irony was thick. They were right. I wasn't the person they raised. That person would have swallowed the loss. Would have convinced themselves that it wasn't worth the fallout. Would have internalized the guilt, picked themselves up, and started over quietly. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. I had earned the right to protect what was mine. I ignored the texts. And I waited. They missed the repayment deadline by 5 days. No message. No explanation. Just silence. So I pulled the next lever. Through a friend in the legal field, I had a letter drafted, not a lawsuit, not a formal threat, but a notice of financial grievance outlining the debt, the documentation, and a clear summary of every step I had already taken to address the matter privately. It was detailed, respectful, and airtight. I sent it by certified mail, return receipt required. 2 days later, it was signed for. 5 days after that, I received an email from a lawyer, not theirs, but a third party. My clients would like to resolve this matter amicably. So now I was a problem to be handled. Not a child. Not family. A liability. It was almost amusing. I met the lawyer in a neutral office space downtown. He was polite, dressed like someone who did more real estate than litigation, and clearly not thrilled to be involved. My clients are willing to offer a repayment plan, he said. They've expressed concern that legal escalation might cause unnecessary strain on the family. I raised an eyebrow. Unnecessary strain? They stole almost 90 grand from me. He shifted in his seat. They insist they believe they'd be able to return the funds before there was harm done. Then they're either delusional, I said, or stupid. He said nothing. I opened a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were the printouts, every screenshot, every receipt, every email. Here's what I'm offering, I said. Full repayment within 6 months. Installments acceptable if consistent. If they default, I go public. He frowned. Public, how? Media, IRS, local zoning boards. Take your pick. He tapped the table, glanced at the file, and finally nodded. I'll take this back to them. That night, I got an unexpected message. Dad. Congratulations. You've officially turned your back on this family. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I typed. You did that the moment you cashed my future for a new car. No reply. The next week passed quietly. Too quietly. But I wasn't fooled. I knew the patterns. They were regrouping. Plotting. Looking for ways to spin the story in their favor. And sure enough, it began. I started getting strange emails from extended relatives. My Aunt Carla wrote. Your mom said you've been very difficult lately. I hope everything's okay. Family is family, no matter what. Then Uncle Ray. Heard you're holding a grudge about money. I'm sure they didn't mean any harm. Then a message from Melissa, my mom's friend since high school. You know they're not perfect. But they're not bad people. They were doing it. They were rewriting the narrative. Painting me as the ungrateful one. The greedy kid. The cold adult who turned on the very people who gave them life. So I responded. With truth. I wrote a message. I sent it once and I copied every single person who had messaged me. Here's the full story. They emptied my savings account without consent. They took $86,400 that I spent 6 years saving to buy a home, and used it to purchase a car for themselves. They didn't ask. They didn't apologize. They didn't offer to repay me. They've lied to you all. And now, because I'm holding them accountable, they want to make me the villain. I won't allow it. Attached is the proof. Judge for yourself. I didn't write anything else. I attached the PDF. And I sent it. Within 24 hours, the tone changed. Uncle Ray apologized. Aunt Carla sent one word, "Wow." Melissa forwarded my message with a single sentence to my mother. "You didn't tell me that part." I didn't hear from my parents for 3 more days. Then my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. "You humiliated us. Are you proud? You've always been dramatic, but this? This is cruel." I didn't reply. Instead, I went for a long walk. Alone. And I realized something important. They weren't ashamed of what they did. They were ashamed they got caught. Ashamed that they couldn't control the story anymore. Ashamed that the world was finally seeing them without the carefully arranged mask. And that? That was the beginning of justice. There's a strange calm that comes with clarity. Not relief. Not closure. Just the sharp-edged awareness that the people who raised you were never going to become the people you needed. That they don't have to approve of your boundaries for them to matter. That your peace is not up for negotiation. And after weeks of silence, after airing out the truth, and watching the lies unravel, my parents finally stopped pretending. No more phone calls. No more guilt. Just a formal email from their lawyer, with a revised repayment plan attached. As per the new arrangement, my clients agree to repay $88,250 over 6 months, beginning with a lump sum of $25,000 due immediately. It was signed. Notarized. Backed by real assets. I stared at it for a long time. Then I forwarded it to my own legal contact. Proceed. The first payment hit my account 3 days later. $25,000. No message. No explanation. Just numbers on a screen. But those numbers didn't feel like a win. They felt like a receipt. Proof that what I'd lost, trust, stability, safety, had a price tag. And even if they repaid every cent, it wouldn't buy back what they stole from me. They hadn't just emptied my bank account. They'd gutted my ability to see them as people I could ever rely on again. Still, I took the win. And I started house hunting again. Not because I needed a house to feel complete. But because I'd earned the right to reclaim the life I was building before they tried to derail it. And I made a quiet vow. This time, no one touches what's mine. The fallout spread further than I expected. One of my parents' longtime friends, a family they'd vacationed with for years, cut ties completely. Another couple, who used to gush over my dad's discipline, quietly removed him from their backyard poker group. It wasn't about the money. It was about the lie. The mask slipping. For decades, they'd built their identity on being the good family. Reliable. Responsible. Hardworking. And in one email, I'd shattered the illusion. No one threw a parade. But no one looked at them the same way again, either. And that mattered more than revenge ever could. In the middle of all this, I got a message from my Aunt Carla. "I just want to say thank you. For saying what no one else had the courage to. We've all seen glimpses of their selfishness over the years, but we looked the other way. I'm sorry we didn't step in sooner. I didn't know what to say. So I just replied. Better late than never." By month 4, the payments were on schedule. $10,500 each month, wired like clockwork. At first, I assumed they'd pulled from savings. Then I got another message, this one from a friend of a friend who still lived near my parents. "So? I heard they sold the car." I smiled. Poetic. The very thing they stole from me to purchase had now been traded to get it back. They'd sold the car. And, apparently, taken out a small loan against their house to stay afloat. That wasn't what I wanted. But it was exactly what they needed. A reminder that comfort is a privilege. Not a given. Especially when you burn bridges with the people who built it. By month 5, I closed on a small, 2-bedroom home just outside the city. Nothing flashy. Just quiet. Clean. Mine. I remember sitting in the empty living room the first night, lights off, windows cracked, a takeout container on the floor beside me. I didn't post about it. Didn't call anyone. Just sat there, letting it sink in. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was something rarer. Restitution. They'd taken. I'd reclaimed. And now, I could finally exhale. But the story wasn't quite done. Because on the 6th and final month, something happened I didn't expect. A letter. No lawyer this time. No preamble. Just a plain white envelope in my mailbox, with my father's handwriting. Inside. We've repaid the money. That doesn't fix what we did. But I want you to know, I never thought you'd actually go through with it. You always had a fire in you, but I never saw how much until now. You were right to make us pay. You were right not to trust us. And I'm sorry it took all this to see you clearly. There was no request to talk. No hint of reconciliation. Just a statement. Blunt. Honest. Finally unfiltered. And I didn't feel angry. I felt done. A few weeks after the final payment cleared, I did something I hadn't done in over a year. I took a vacation. Just me, a duffel bag, and a week in a quiet coastal town 2 states away. No itinerary. No notifications. No meetings. I turned my phone off the second I checked into the cabin and didn't turn it on again until the last day. I slept better than I had in years. I walked through foggy mornings by the water. I watched the tide go out, then return again, unbothered, unstoppable. And somewhere in that stillness, I realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Not because they apologized, because they finally had no power over me. Not my bank account. Not my decisions. Not my future. And most of all, not my peace. When I got home, I framed the letter my father had sent. Not out of sentiment. Out of proof. I hung it on the inside of my closet door, where no one else would see it, just me. Not to remember what they did. But to remind myself that I survived it. That I beat it. With dignity. With strategy. Without becoming the villain they tried to paint me as. Eventually, word got around that I'd cut ties. Extended family stopped asking questions. Old friends, those who knew what happened, stayed in touch, but never pushed. And my parents? They stayed gone. No surprise visits. No more messages. Just a vacuum where obligation used to live. And in its place? Life. Real life. Quiet. Beautiful. Fully mine. I finished furnishing the house slowly. No rush. Each piece felt like a milestone. A dining table I bought secondhand and refinished myself. A bookshelf I filled with stories by people who rebuilt their lives on their own terms. A couch that didn't sag in the middle. The little things. The things that make a space feel like a home, not because someone gave it to you, but because you earned it. Brick by brick. Choice by choice. One afternoon, months later, I got an email. From someone I didn't know. A friend of a former co-worker, reaching out after hearing part of my story. They wrote. My parents just emptied my savings account. I'm still shaking. I don't know what to do. I wrote back. Told them the truth. That it will hurt. That it will break something you thought was sacred. That no amount of justice will make the betrayal feel logical. But then I told them something else. You are not powerless. And you're not alone. They built their lives believing they'd never answer to anyone. But they just answered to you. That means something. Months passed. Then a year. Then 2. And I never heard from my parents again. No holiday cards. No updates from mutual relatives. No sudden tragedies meant to bait me back into orbit. Just silence. A silence I chose to protect. Because they made their decisions. And I made mine. Sometimes, when I sit in my living room and listen to the rain on the roof, I think about everything I could have done differently. Should I have just let it go? Should I have screamed louder? Should I have cut them off sooner? But the truth is, there's no perfect way to respond to being betrayed by the people who made you. There's only one rule that matters. Don't let them write your ending. And I didn't. They tried to take from me. But I rebuilt. They tried to silence me. But I spoke. They tried to shame me. But I showed the world what accountability really looks like. And now, every step I take is mine. Every choice. Every dollar. Every inch of peace. And that's how I destroyed them. Not with violence. Not with revenge. With independence. With truth. And with the quiet power of never needing them again. Thank you for watching the video. Like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.